name's Sam and I'm here to talk to you about the Great British Sewing Bee Season 6 Episode 7. Thank you to everybody who has liked and subscribed my videos so far. I've been enjoying making them and watching the sewing bee and doing these reviews. They're quite a lot of hard work because I'm doing a blog post as well, so I will link the blog post below. I just think it's useful for people to see what I've been talking about, and just to give sort of links to patterns and fabrics and things that I've found. So what I want to talk to you about today was the 80s week, which was broadcast last week. We had a power jacket in the pattern round, and we had a transformation round, HiVis outfits into party wear, and we had an 80s inspired cocktail dress. So yeah, back to the 80s. So I thought I'd wear this little dress today, and I'll insert a full length picture of me wearing it. This is an old 1983 Vogue pattern that I used, and I just love the cutaway sleeves on it. If you see there, they go right into the neckline there. Really unusual construction, and if I remember, I'll insert a picture of it inside out so you can see how it's constructed. But I thought that this is just an old make, something that I made quite a long time ago, and I love it. I do love it, love the shape of it, but it does mean that I can't wear a bra, which means I have to wear a strapless bra. And at the moment it's quite comfortable, but sometimes not all day. It's not the best. So the pattern challenge. So the contestants had 4 hours to make a power jacket which had big lapels and big shoulders and very nipped in at the waist. Once again, this was probably drafted for the show, I think. I haven't been able to find the pattern for it, and there's definitely not a pattern similar to this in the new Sustainable Style book either. But I have found a couple of free ones that are similar to, I mean, you're not going to find a contemporary sewing pattern, I don't think, that's got the huge shoulder pads in. They were using double shoulder pads in the show. I've just brought some to show you. So instead of, I know you probably know what a shoulder pad looks like, but instead of just using the one like you would normally, they were doubling them up, and I think they were probably thick to start with, so they were actually sewing 2 shoulder pads together to insert into the jacket, and I think they go that way, to just accentuate that outline. Yeah, so I've not been able to find any that accommodate that, and I would imagine that if you had to if you wanted to make something like that, you would have to actually change the arm size and the actual shoulders seams to accommodate if you were going to go really big. So the ones that I've found are there's a new look one, which you probably won't be able to tell from this drawing. These are ones that I own, by the way. You probably won't be able to tell from this drawing, but that is almost identical in its shape, except it's not got the huge shoulder pads. But in the design, the more contemporary design, and the one in the show had a slightly curved bottom at the front as well. But it's got that lapel that it shows the revere of the collar as well. So it's got that. And another one that I owned was an old Prima pattern. This is a little bit more boxy. This is from November 2017. So yeah, what I'm trying just to reiterate, I'm trying to sort of find patterns and fabrics that I own or that I can find free that you can link to, just to encourage if you fancy replicating anything that's being made on the programme, that you can just have a look and see what they've got. This new look F6013 as well, that it's similar in that it's quite nipped in at the waist, and this is one of the first ones that I found when I started looking through. But it has got a collar on it, so the one in the programme didn't have a collar, and the other two that I showed you, they don't have a collar. The one from Mood that I found, that will I'll link to and show you, That's also got a collar, but that's a free pattern that I managed to find. And also there's a Butterick 6738, which Kate from the Fold line found. And I'll insert a line drawing of that. And again, that's very similar. It's funny because the pictures on the front of the pattern packet of that one are in a fabric that's almost identical to the laundry bags that they used last year. Now this one, its collar it's like unfinished, and without actually having a look at the pattern properly, I don't know whether that it's got a finished lapel, whether it's supposed to be done in like a wool that's double-sided or something. So without seeing that, I can't really recommend it. But apart from that, it is quite similar. We had Claire did I couldn't tell whether that was a bright pink or whether it was a red colour. It sometimes looked red and sometimes looked like a fuchsia pink, and that she said I think it was a synthetic with wool. And what the judges did say at the beginning was that you really needed a fabric that was going to hold its structure and hold a press as well. So when I come on to what I'll talk about a bit later, and some of the contestants just chose not the wrong fabric, but probably not the most appropriate fabric, shall we say. So the judges didn't find anything wrong at all with Claire's. It just lacked a final press, they said, and hers looked pretty good. Liz went with it was like a beigey gold colour, and I think she probably just got her shoulder pads in the wrong place, so that it just didn't hang right. But it did look lovely. A lot of the fabrics that I found, because Minerva send me an email, and whether they are the exact match, they look close enough to me. But on top of that, I found a herringbone from FABWORKS, which I thought I'd include with this because it's not only is it a local fabric shop to me, they do a line of fabrics called Heart of Huddersfield, and that is literally just up the road from me. And they've been commissioned specifically for FABWORKS. They are expensive, but I think they would be beautiful in a little jacket. It doesn't have to be an 80s jacket, it could be any kind of jacket. So Mark kept referencing Scilla in his when he was making his jacket. He was like a pale pink in colour, and he went for the big bold button at the waist. And I think it must have had a bit of sparkle or lurex in it. And I've got some fabric very similar to what he used that again I bought from FABWORKS, and I'll just see if I can insert that. Can you see the sparkle on that? I'm not so sure how well that would hold a press. It's got natural fibres in it, but I think this is more of a darker background to what he used. What they picked up on his was that one shoulder was slightly higher than the other. It didn't look like he was matching the notches when he was inserting the sleeve into the sleeve head, into the arm size. So I think he probably got the pitch, it looked like he got the pitch of the arms wrong, so Patrick did comment that his arms went backwards a little bit. So I think he got downgraded a little bit on that because he only came fourth on that one. So on to where the fabric choices probably weren't ideal, and that was Nicole, who went for a very 80s themed black and red PVC number. So the main body of it was red, and then on the revere of the lapel she used black, and it did give a really graphic effect, but of course it was just not going to press at all. And I think she stretched out a sleeve a little bit when she was trying to insert it, because obviously it's not very flexible, isn't PVC? Can't imagine what it'd be like to wear. So yes, she came. I think Nicole came 5th for hers, and Therese used a cotton sateen, which you'd think, to be fair, would be okay. Now whether it had a bit of elastane in it, just didn't seem to want to hold a press. I don't know why, but she spent an awful long time trying to get it pressed to look right, which meant that hers wasn't complete at the end. I think she still had the buttonhole to do. Don't think her shoulder pads were in correctly, and I think there was some hand stitching at the end, and I don't think she'd done that just to do the hem. And I don't think she completed that either. So on to Matt, who won this particular round. He used a bright orange brocade, and I think orange was his colour this time because he had an orange t-shirt and orange socks on as well. So yeah, I've got one from Minerva Crafts again, which was very, very similar if it's not the same one. And that had, I think it had Lurex in it, and they just couldn't find fault with it. It was difficult watching it on the night to see why his won and Claire's didn't, but I think looking back on it you could see that perhaps Claire's just needed that final press and they couldn't find any fault at all on that one. So on to the transformation set challenge, which the contestants were given 90 minutes to transform a 3-piece HiVis suit of trousers, a vest and a t-shirt. I think it was a polo t-shirt that they had. And they could use any haberdashery but no other fabrics. So I've just brought along a HiVis jacket just in case you don't know what one looks like. So you can see they're just like a neon colour, and then these are they're reflective strips, and they did have those on. I'm going to put it on for you just for the laugh. So there you go. So the contestants, some of them had some really imaginative ideas, but I think really effectively they really struggled with this one, which I think I would do as well. 90 minutes to come up with I think it was a party outfit they were supposed to make. So we had Claire, who did a nod to Madonna, so she made a tiered rah-rah skirt and a little boob tube, and then she put little cones on hers. So you know, if you remember the conical bra that Madonna wore, I think it was designed by Jean Paul Gaultier. Apparently that was 1990 actually, but anyway, she got away with it. Mark went for a roller disco outfit or something, so little shorts and a t-shirt, and a sort of, I presume he didn't just cut down the trousers and make shorts. It did do some sort of messing about with the lines of these reflective strips. Otherwise, it wasn't much of a transformation. He did put an awful lot of netting into the side of one of the shorts, and then I think he had a V-necked vest with some netting over the top as well. And Therese just went down the Bucks Fizz line. Which I thought was a good idea. That was iconic 1980s. So she did a little skirt that ripped off, but then I think she thought to herself, "I'm ripping this skirt off. The mannequin's going to be naked." So she used these strips and formed a little skirt to go underneath it. Now, really, obviously it was too short. It was a short skirt to start off with, so it ended up being really, really short. But the idea was there, and she did a little sort of V-necked top to go with it as well. So she made 2 skirts and a top. Well, she came 6th because Esme decided that sequins and tassels didn't belong in the 80s. I'm pretty sure there were tassels and sequins. I think there were a bit of everything in the 80s. That was a whole thing, wasn't it? There was a bit of a mishmash. Nicole did a asymmetric off the shoulder job with ruched up. Did a bit of ruching on the side, and then she did like a straight skirt with some netting over the top. And then we had Liz, who she started really well. She did like a sweetheart neckline top, and that looked okay. And then she was going for a puffball effect at the bottom, with making it from netting. So maybe she got downgraded because she didn't make an awful lot of use of the materials that she was given, because she used all this netting, and then just used these HiVis strips, these strips here, and tied it all at the bottom, and it just looked like somebody had put a load of gaffer tape at the bottom and then decided to cut into it. It just did look a bit of a mess actually at the end of it, but a top would have been nice. I think he should have carried that on, it would have been okay. And Matt started with a boob tube that had I think he must have kept a pocket in from the trousers or something, so I think it was a nod to last week's upcycling, why you would want a pocket there that went straight through, I'm not sure. I think, and then he put a little smiley face applique over the top, and I think he floundered after that. I didn't know what to do, and ended up doing a pencil skirt out of 3 different colours, which the judges decided was just too long and not really in keeping. That came fourth with that one. So, and Therese came 6th with hers. Claire won that one. Nicole came 3rd, Mark 2nd, and Liz must have been 4th, yeah. So on to round 3, which was the made to measure round, and I think they had 5.5 hours for this. So they were looking for, obviously, for fit, perfect fit, and sort of exaggerated shapes. So they thinking excess and Lurex and all those awful fabrics that you really wouldn't want to work with. So yeah, we saw a lot of shiny, a lot of gold, a lot of Lurex, a bit of velvet. So starting with, shall we start with Liz, who started with the inspiration from her childhood, from Gem and the Holograms. Never heard of it. I were a little bit older in the 80s, so perhaps that's why I've not heard of it. But I will insert a picture of her inspiration picture, and I think she actually got it spot on. So it's essentially a one-shouldered asymmetric dress with a big ruffle at the bottom and big bows. So she had her inspiration picture had a big bow at one shoulder and a big bow at the bottom. She spent an awful lot of time fitting it, and when she got it fitted onto the model, it fitted perfectly. And she did quite a clever trick in that she used a lining to fit the model and then went on to make the dress, and that's something that I've done a few times. It's just a good way of saving time. You don't have to make a separate toile. You saw Liz using a butterick pattern as an inspiration, but she obviously did quite a lot of alterations to it, because the butterick pattern that I'm going to put up, that's long length, so she would have had to cut into it, an asymmetric cut into it. The bows were just tied on in the end anyway, and then the frill, the flounce at the bottom. If anybody saw, I think it was my first video, you can see on her flounce at the bottom how uneven the gathers are, and I do talk about using elastic to get that more even. It's not a time saver so much as it just gets the gathers more even. I think she probably would have been fighting a bit of a losing battle with that fabric anyway, because it would be quite stiff. You need, if you're doing something like that, you need something with a bit of movement in it. But yeah, she did a good job actually. It fitted really well, and looked like the inspiration picture. What more can you ask? So on to Mark's, who he found a vintage simplicity pattern in a charity shop, which they showed quite plainly on the programme, and he used 2 different the same fabric but in 2 different colourways, and I've not been able to find that fabric at all. If I find it before I do the editing, I'll insert it. But it made me laugh because he just said that she looked like a giant quality street, which I will insert a picture of for anybody who doesn't know what a giant quality street looks like, or a quality street. But essentially it was a very basic shift dress that just had a wrap around at the front. And I think if you wanted a more modern version, if you're not going to an 80s fancy dress party anytime soon, I think that one, this is one that I've got, I think that one would kind of do it. I think you could probably make the necessary adaptations to it. And what I will say about Mark's is it fitted, and I didn't see the judges say anything wrong about it, so I'm a little bit perplexed as to why that didn't get Garment of the Week, but you know, it didn't. So to Nicole, who used PVC again, obviously she thought she could handle it, and she did handle it really well in the made to measure round, a lot better than she did in the first round. And she used like I would call it an electric blue and white PVC. And the dress that she used was New Look 6636, I think it is. And that's again a vintage pattern. I don't think she made any adaptations to it. I think it was exactly as it was. And when you see the picture of it, you can see the ginormous sleeves in it. And she used 2 lots of shoulder pads and some bra cups as well. So she really went for it with the shoulder pads. I think she's quite clever, isn't Nicole? She takes on board what the judges are saying. Although she ignored the fact that she shouldn't be using PVC for a jacket, but anyway. Yeah, so she took no chances with those. I think she took either of her senses using it, but you did see her using a walking foot, and it obviously worked because she handled it okay. But a few people commented on using perhaps a Teflon foot when you're using PVC. Essentially, what you don't want is your machine foot sticking to PVC. Now, I'm not so sure anybody's going to be sewing PVC skirts or anything anytime soon, but you might be doing bag making or something like that. That's Teflon foot with a little roller on the bottom, and that just helps the foot glide over the fabric a little bit more easily. There was a bit of drama with her in that she panicked because she inserted the sleeves incorrectly. I'm not sure what she'd done, but half of hers was blue and half of it was white. Now I don't know whether originally she's supposed to have a blue sleeve on the white side and a white sleeve on the blue side, or whether when she cut it that's what it was going to end up like. And you saw her running back to try and recut the sleeves, but didn't have enough fabric. She ended up putting the wrong sleeves into the wrong arm sizes, and for some reason the judges didn't notice that. Now, my understanding of watching the show previously is that if you have a little drama like that, because obviously it was highlighted on the programme as we all saw it, that the production team let them know. So I can't see that they were unaware of it. So whether they decided to ignore that little problem or what, but they absolutely loved hers. And when the model walked down the catwalk, it did look absolutely perfect. It just did look great until they turned around and you saw it, because there's a zip in the back of it, how the back of it just didn't seem to sit quite right. Now that could have just been wearing ease. I mean, it's PVC. I don't know. They did point that out. So yeah, I don't know if they just decided to ignore that. But when you've got somebody's like Mark's that had no faults in it, and I think Liz's didn't have any sewing faults in it. I think she just didn't have time to put the 2 bows on it, so maybe ran out of time. And then on to Teresa's, where they didn't find any fault with hers neither. That apart from one design element, but apart from that's just personal choice really. And Therese used like a black satin and gold, and the pattern that they showed on the show, hers wasn't exactly the same, so she must have either used a different bodice, because the pattern that they showed on the show, like a boot tube cut off here, so there was no strap. Did a very, very short skirt on hers, and then this really dramatic detachable peplum, which I thought was a really clever idea. Probably detached the bows. She put giant gold bows on it as well on the top. Bigger is better, I think, with the bows, as far as Esme is concerned. So yeah, they've all cracked onto the big bows idea, I think. So Teresa's peplum, detachable peplum, was fully lined, and so there must have been quite a bit of work in it, and it looked like it fitted perfectly to me. They couldn't find any fault with that at all. Just the outside of the peplum, it sat right at the place where I suppose you don't want to draw any attention, perhaps, and suggested that could have been another bow as well. So, like I say, can't have too many bows. So on to Claire's, and I think hers, and this is Kate at the Vogue line again, who found McCall, sorry, 4264. It's very similar to that, except that again I'll insert a picture. Except where the bottom of the dress is just a ruffle, she's done an asymmetric bubble skirt. I found if you want a bubble skirt, I found a free one on the Mood website, which I'll insert a picture of in a link in my blog post for it. So hers was made out of again, I couldn't tell whether, I think it was a hot pink or a fuchsia pink velvet, and then massive silver lame puff sleeves, and then the puff ball at the bottom was a silver lame. So she was going for the more is more effect, except Esme decided that she should have stuffed some netting into her sleeves. Now I'm sorry, but these are supposed to be wearable garments. Nobody's going to go out with a load of netting stuffed in the sleeves. The structure needs to be there within the garment, surely. But one thing that did pick up on Claire's was that her lining was ever so slightly pulling on the bottom of the dress, and I think that's probably why hers didn't win Garment of the Week on that particular round. So on to Matt's, who had an absolute mare. Oh gosh. He used Alexis Carrington doll from, is it Dynasty she was in, or Dallas? I think it was Dynasty, wasn't it? I'll insert a picture of, because I found one online, and it had these huge sleeves, square neckline, and it was gold on gold. I mean, it was gaudy, really, really gaudy. And then he cut it to cocktail length, so it was above knee. And he used a peplum. Now there's no pattern for this because he drafted it himself. He got his partner to do the drawings. His partner's line drawings are fantastic. I don't know if everybody else thinks, but they are lovely. But he had real problems with the fitting, and I don't know why, because it came in with his pattern, and as far as I'm aware they've been using the same models over and over again, so really it shouldn't have been far off with the fitting at all. But when it came to put the bodice on, it was a good way short. I would say a good inch short of joining up, and obviously then he would have had to put a zip in to fasten it. So I had to recut his back bodice, and then of course when he came to the skirt he had the same problem. So it can't be a matter of him. I could plainly see that he got the seam lines drawn on his drawings. I could see that, but whether when he's done his measuring he's not taken that into account, I don't know. But the gap was bigger than the seam allowances would have added up to, I think, really. So he used two types of gold lurex. He had a crinkle and a plain. So the peplum was in the crinkle, and then the sleeves were going to be in the crinkle as well. So when he came to fit the skirt, he had the same problem. So after a bit of thinking, he decided to insert a V shape to get it out, but he didn't have enough fabric of the normal fabric, so he put the crinkle fabric in. I mean, it was just disaster after disaster, really. I felt really sorry for him. Then he couldn't get the sleeves right, and I don't know what he was doing. You could see him inserting the sleeves, but then when he was pulling them through, he was saying they were all twisted, and he just ended up storming off, which was high drama. And Patrick went out and had a chat with him and just said, look, do it sleeveless, which he did. They were saying that it didn't fit great and the sewing wasn't fantastic neither, but I'm saying it wasn't finished. You know, his original design had big sleeves, and the sleeves weren't there, and that was what giving it the drama and impact that the judges were looking for. He won the challenge for the jackets. So I've got a feeling that if you've won a garment, one of the challenges, that they're not going to send you home. Whether that saved his bacon or not, I don't know. The judges did say at the beginning of the cocktail dress round that both Therese and Nicole would have to make something exceptional to save them, or somebody would have to make have a disastrous round, and I would say that was Matt's disastrous round, really, just a bit, I mean, this nothing personal. I mean, I think he would agree that was just a nightmare round. It was so close to walking off. Well, he walked off, but came back. So I think the jacket in the first round probably saved his bacon. They didn't like Teresa's transformation, so sadly she had to leave this time. And Garment of the Week went to Nicole, which it did look visually stunning. I am not going to argue with that. And they didn't actually focus on it, but you could see all this. I think there was piping all down the neckline and on the hems of the bottom of the cuffs of the dress. So yes, it did look great, but she got the arms in either the wrong way around and got away with it, and it didn't fit 100%. So I felt a little bit sorry for Mark on that one, because I don't think he put a foot wrong. I could see why Claire's didn't win. They were all lovely, apart from Matt's, but I could, if you like 80s stuff, but I could see why Claire's and Liz's was only just not finished, because she spent so much time fitting it. If she'd have just put that other bow in at the bottom, maybe she'd have won, or maybe it just didn't have the impact and drama that they were looking for. I don't know. So on to my challenge for this week. So I don't really have much need for a cocktail dress. The only time I wear cocktail dresses is when we go on cruises, and I don't think I'll be going on one of those anytime soon. And the jackets, well, obviously jackets with massive shoulder pads in aren't going to do. I've twirled the pattern that I showed you earlier, which is this new look, K6351. And while it probably on the picture there looks nothing like what you saw on the show, it has got a lot of elements that are very similar. So I thought 4 hours I'd never be able to make a jacket. Now obviously this is just curtain material that I've twirled it up in, but I've tried to finish it as they were finished on the show, in that all their seams were overlocked. That was a tailored jacket on the first round, but it wasn't lined. And I don't know about anybody else, but if I've got a jacket and I'm going to likely to take it off, I don't want overlocked edges like that. I've made them before and I just don't wear them. I don't know what it is, but so this is just finished how they finished it. So you've got very, very similar elements in this jacket, and it's blowing out because it's wide, I'm sorry. You've got the lapel that's just used the revere there, and it's no collar, very, very similar. It's just not got the massive shoulder pads. So yeah, I've got some old, I made some curtains last year and I've got some lining left over, so I've just done a very quick twirl of this, just to check for fit, which is a good job I did, because although this pattern packet, I don't know why lately I'm having real problems finding sizes. We've got, I've made the t-shirt in this pattern before, and I've made the skirt, and I made notes for myself that I've made the size 16 in the t-shirt, but I had to take it in a bit. It's view D, and there's no garment measurements apart from the back length, which is not a great deal of use. So for a size 14, it's based on a 36-inch bust, and a size 16 is based on a 38-inch bust, and it's slightly boxy shape, so really the waist and the hips shouldn't matter too much. I'm 37-inch bust. So I decided, because of my previous workings with it, I'd go down to the 14, and I'll just bob it on for you. You can see that princess seam's not really coming over the apex of my bust, and you'd have to really struggle. There's it's not supposed to have a button and buttonhole on it, and this it's supposed to just have a hook and eye on it. It fits on the shoulder, but that is too tight across there, so I'm going to go up a size to make the actual one. And I'm really glad that I made this toile, and I just want to talk a little bit more about making toiles, because I know a lot of people are really sort of, well, what's the point, why I'm glad I've toiled this, and it's in the rivet and these lapels here. Let me just take it off again. It tells you to understitch it, but because there's not a great deal of instructions on it, I've understitched the bit that you can see. So that's the bit you can see, and my understitching's there. And I've made jackets before. I know that the understitching's supposed to go underneath there. Doesn't matter on here, because obviously I'm not going to wear this. But I would have been cursing myself if I'd have done that wrong on some nice wool. The other thing is, although it's quite plain on the picture that she's the sleeves are full length, I just thought she'd got them shoved up, and these are sort of 3/4 length sleeves, and I'm not a massive fan of 3/4 length sleeves. I think it's because I'm quite long in the arms and legs, and when you've got trouble fitting things like that, you're always conscious. It actually doesn't fall too badly on me, and I don't know whether I might keep it as a summer jacket like that, make it maybe in a lightweight denim or chambray or a linen. It'd be nice in a linen. I am really desperately in need of a navy blue jacket for work. So, but onto why I did the finishing like that. I wanted to know where I could get away with the finishing, and I think I might do either Hong Kong seams on here. I could draft myself a lining for it actually, if I wanted to. I could do that, and it would definitely be for me more wearable. But yeah, I'll either do Hong Kong seams on it. But I really did surprise myself in that this only took me 2 hours. Yes, it's a toile, and the hems are supposed to be, the hems and the cuffs are supposed to be hand stitched, and I just run those on the machine just to get it all together and fitted. But I couldn't believe how quickly that came together. So sometimes when you look at the challenges and you think, oh, jacket in 4 hours, if you do it, if you set your mind to it, it is possible. And I might do a top tips for speeding up your sewing one day. I'm not an advocate of fast sewing, don't get me wrong, that is not what I'm trying to advocate, but maybe how to expedite things or how to be more efficient with your sewing. I think that might be an interesting one. So if you want to leave a comment below, even if you've got some top tips, if you want to leave them below, and I'll compile them all together. Obviously I've got my own ideas. I've sort of already got a half-written blog post about it. But yeah, just sort of how to make things more efficient, really. I love sewing, so I'd be happy all day sewing. So, but sometimes you get frustrated with yourself and how long things take. So I think that's it from me today. I'm going to leave it there. Next week is International Week, which I'm really looking forward to, because I've got lots of African wax prints. I've got some Thai batiks. I've got those saris that I showed in my shows your stash one as well, that I could do with finding ideas for. I know there's nothing in the current Sewing Bee book that's anything like, but I think some of the past ones have got they've got a few ideas for certainly the wax prints and the saris. So, but they mentioned a Filipino pattern as well, so that'd be interesting. And if you think you know what it is, I did a quick Google search and I found something with these really exaggerated sleeves, which is a traditional Filipino. So they might be doing that, I don't know. But if you think of anything else, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe. I know I ramble on, and I know I'm still doing a lot of umming and erring, but it takes me hours. So yeah. And I've still got my review of the bomber jacket and the cami set to come. I will try and get that done this week, so I'll get those up for you. And yeah, so I'm going to say goodbye now, and I shall speak to you later. Okay, goodbye, thank you.